What's going on, guys? Welcome back to BlackTideTV, first video of the day, and in this video I have some Infinite Warfare content for you. I asked on Twitter last night, make sure you follow me on Twitter, at BlackTideTV, I asked if you guys wanted to see a golden weapon review or an epic variant review, and everyone wants to see the epic variant reviews, which honestly surprised me. But the first one, the K-Bar 32 Invective, which will be linked in the description and card in the top right corner, went extremely well. It's one of the most successful videos on my channel and one of the most fast growing videos on my channel in terms of views and likes. So I was definitely happy to oblige with my EMC Avalanche today. So the EMC Avalanche has been a topic of controversy for a while. It was one of the epic variants showcased in the multiplayer overview trailer. It was one of the weapons showcased in the alpha build or whatever build they played at COD XP that a lot of people complained about. It was pretty powerful. It's pretty wacky. It's kind of strange. But today I'm going to be telling you guys if it's worth your time. Should you waste your salvage on it? Should you hope to get it in a supply drop, or should you just completely ignore it altogether? So let's just jump right into it. So first things first, this is a secondary weapon, and that could immediately turn you guys off from purchasing it as an epic variant, as it's the same price. Even though it's a secondary weapon, it's still 4,000 salvage, plus however much salvage you spend on the variants leading up to it. So just make sure that you're okay with purchasing a secondary weapon for the same price as a primary weapon. Now, that being said, the secondary weapons in this game, especially the pistols, are incredibly powerful. Let me tell you. Just wait till you see that Kendall 44 golden weapon review that I have for you. The pistols are really great. They're actually, in some cases, they're better than assault rifles and SMGs, where the other COD developers like Treyarch and Sledgehammer usually fall short in the pistol and secondary weapon area. Infinity Ward has always been really great about making their pistols really strong, and this game is no exception. So the EMC, the base EMC, will drop people in 3 to 4 shots. It's a very powerful pistol. You can almost use it as a primary in most situations, you know, as long as you're not engaging people beyond medium range. And it's a very powerful pistol, and then obviously when you add the epic variant traits on top of that, it's only going to make it better. It's only going to make it easier to use. So I just thought I'd like to mention that you should probably know that it is a secondary weapon, and not all of you will be super excited about spending 4,000 salvage on a secondary weapon, but at the same time, it could end up being a good purchase. So let's talk traits. I'll throw up the weapon card so you guys can follow along, but the epic trait that we have on the EMC Avalanche, what makes it the Avalanche is the Lucky 7. The Lucky 7 makes it unload half its magazine on a single shot. In other words, it makes it a 7-round burst, as half the magazine is 7 shots, the full magazine being 14 shots. You get 2 bursts of 7 bullets each in each magazine. And of course, the common trait is readiness, making you reload faster when the magazine is empty, which complements Lucky 7 very nicely because obviously you only get 2 bursts, and once you're out of that, you're going to need the quicker reload so that you can get back into the gunfight, especially if you're using this as a primary weapon or if you're using it in a tight quarter situation and you really need to engage another enemy. It's awesome to have that readiness so that you can instantly reload when you run out of your 2 bursts and you can fire again. Now, the 7-round burst, is it that great? Well, it makes the weapon easier to use if you're using it as a secondary weapon. Of course, there's 2 ways to use a secondary weapon. You can use it as a primary or an actual secondary that you might pull out in a dire situation when you run out of ammo with your first weapon. So, as a secondary weapon, this is an awesome weapon because it takes all of the difficulty out of using a semi-automatic pistol. You can pull this thing out and push the trigger once, and it will fire 7 fast-paced shots, 7 shots at full fire rate, and you can just completely decimate an enemy at close range. So it's really great if you need to pull out a weapon and you don't have an extra attachment slot to put auto sear on your weapon or anything like that. Auto sear obviously making your semi-automatic pistols fully automatic. So it's great to have if you need it as a secondary weapon. If you're using a sniper rifle and you just need a backup pistol that's really easy to use, really easy to pull out, this is a really great option. But if you're using it as a primary weapon, you're going to run into some issues. First issue being, you're going to run out of ammo very, very, very quickly. You only get, I think, 3 clips of ammunition to start with a standard pistol, and then, of course, you only get 2 bursts in each clip. So that's, what, 6 or between 6 and 8 clips of ammunition. So you're only going to engage 8 enemies max with a single use of this gun. Like, you're not going to be able to engage more than 8 enemies unless you double up on those enemies, or unless you run scavenger, or unless you find ammo on the ground, which not a lot of people run around with the EMC, so you're probably not going to find ammo on the ground. Basically, what I'm saying is, this thing dumps ammo, and it's really unnecessary how much ammo it dumps. And it's going to be difficult to use as a primary weapon, just because you're going to have to run scavenger, you're going to have to run into the heat of the battle and pick up those scavenger bags and get more ammunition, because you're going to run out of ammo very, very quickly. It's called the Avalanche for a reason. I kind of like to compare it to the wastefulness of a real-life avalanche. Of course, a real-life avalanche, you're not wasting anything, but say you're, I don't know, say you're Saruman and you're trying to stop Gandalf and the Fellowship of the Ring from crossing over the mountains. He's going to cause that avalanche, and he'll probably knock off half of the snow on the mountain, and he's only aiming for one little spot. He's only aiming to get a little bit of snow on the Fellowship, and he's going to throw all of this extra snow that he could use for subsequent tries to stop the Fellowship. He's going to dump all of that snow down the mountain, and he's never going to be able to use that snow again. Same thing with this. It's called the Avalanche for a reason. You're pouring bullets out that you're not going to be able to use again. It only takes 3 to 4 bullets on average to kill an enemy with this weapon. Of course, it doesn't drop damage, doesn't drop range. It only takes 3 to 4 shots with the EMC to get a kill. So it only takes 3 to 4 shots with a single burst, but it's a 7-round burst. So unless you're doubling up on enemies, you're just pouring ammo. You might as well just be pouring ammo just right out of your clip, because you're wasting it. You're wasting it between 3 and 4 shots with every single burst. So that's the number one problem you're going to run into with this weapon, is it just pours through ammo. You're just dumping ammo on the ground, and it doesn't come with a lot of ammo to start. So either use, I think it's called Man-at-Arms, which is a specialist, I think it's, or combat rig. I think it's the Merc combat rig trait. It lets you start with maximum ammo capacity, so you are going to start with more ammunition, which would be really great for this if you're running it as a primary, or run scavenger. But again, the problem with scavenger is you actually have to run into the battle and pick up the scavenger bags. The scavenger bags don't just automatically suck into you, so you actually have to get in really, really close range, which is where you want to use this weapon anyways. But still, it can be dangerous to get in at close range with this thing, because I don't know, it's scary, because you're in there at close range and you only get 2 bursts before you have to reload, and it's kind of terrifying. Now, of course, being an energy weapon, you cannot put extended mags on this weapon, but you can put fusion mags on, which will regenerate a little bit of ammo as you go through the game, which can be very, very effective as well. Another great item to put on this, or another great attachment, I should say, is akimbo. It's pretty effective if you're going to be run and gunning and just spraying people with it. You can get more enemies in a single clip, more or less, because you actually have 4 bursts to fire before you have to reload with 2 different weapons, so you can get more enemies before needing to reload. That's also a great attachment. But as for this weapon, long story short, is it worth it? No. It's not worth it for 4,000 salvage. It's a great backup weapon. It makes for an awesome secondary if you do need a secondary for your weapon class. If you do need a secondary weapon, if you think you're going to run out of ammo with your primary, if you're using a sniper and you like a close range secondary, this is an outstanding secondary weapon. Is it worth 4,000 salvage? No. It's worth 2,000 maybe. Try and get it in a supply drop, but if you don't get it in a supply drop, it's not worth your time to go through and try and spend as much money as you can to try and get this thing unlocked. If you find it in a supply drop, definitely equip it, but don't set out to unlock this weapon. It's not really worth it in the long run. Use your salvage for a primary weapon, or a weapon that's definitely more effective. That is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. Tell me what you think about this variant in the comment section. Which variant would you like to see next? Definitely let me know. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next video.